This brings us to our next exercise. So with this exercise, exercise 2, we're going to be setting up a subtenant by going through our main tenant and accessing it through the home toolbar. Now let's navigate back to our main tenant and our Boomi flows page. Here what we can do is click on this expand icon in the upper left hand corner of our home toolbar. Then click on the tenant icon. And here we can see our main tenant. So I had named it Boomi Flow. Now, there's no listing of subtenants for this main tenant, but what we're going to do here is create a new subtenant. So click on the green plus new subtenant. And in this text box, let's put the term Boomi Flow Training. No spaces, all one word, and click the blue create button. Now this says that our subtenant has been configured. Now we can return back to the tenant page by clicking on the back to tenant. And now we see our main tenant and we have our subtenant. So let's look now at how we can also change between our main tenant and subtenant. This is done by clicking on this gravatar icon up here. Now we see the main tenant listed. Click on the blue change tenant and now we can see our multiple tenants. Now the two here that I'm looking at that I'm really focused on are the new one that I created, the subtenant, which is Boomi Flow Training plus development boomi.flow, and this is our main tenant, this is our subtenant. Now what I want you to do is, again, now you only have two tenants listed here, which will most likely be your main here and your subtenant here. So let's click and stay in our main tenant. So make sure that you click on whatever the main tenant was that was first created. And that brings us back into our flows page. From here, I want to continue on with you and talk about some more core terminology of Boomi Flow. Here we'll have our introduction to values. Values are shared across flows within each tenant or subtenant, but not between them. Now, this may be a hard concept to understand at first, but we'll discuss this idea more in the future also. If you import or export a flow, then values are packaged and come with the flow. Values are similar to variables in programming language in the sense that they have a name and data associated with them. Values created by the flow builder are saved within Boomi Flow and can be edited or deleted. There are 9 primitive values such as boolean, date time, content, list, number, object, password, string, and encrypted. We'll speak about values more as I mentioned before, and values will be used often when we are working with Boomi Flow and other third-party services such as Salesforce. Values in Boomi Flow will correspond to objects in Salesforce, for instance. Next, we want to talk about services. Services are going to be another very important core term that we use with Boomi Flow and something that we interact with quite often when building flows. With Boomi Flow, you can integrate your flows with cloud application platforms such as Salesforce, Box, or Twilio. You may also have various databases like MySQL or third-party applications like Jira or Slack that you'd like your apps to work with. Currently, Boomi Flow service integrations are available for Boomi Atomsphere, Salesforce, Box, Twilio, Google Apps, Microsoft Exchange, and many more. We call these integrations services. Services can also be used to extend functionalities of a flow, say to delay the flow or schedule a task, and for end-user authentication.